We're back.
We're back.
Today we talk about strategy number 22 from the 33 Strategies of War by Robert Greene. I want to open with a quote from the book. The only real ending is death. Everything else is a transition.
Wow.
And this chapter made me think a lot about how you approach business. When you go into a negotiations with somebody, it's a battle, essentially. But at the end of it, you're always thinking, I want to be cordial with the other person. You know, we may battle it in the negotiation, but if I see that person on the street, I want to be able to say hello. And you've had instances like that happen. So you always make it a point to know how to end things well, which is what this chapter's about. Know how to end things, the exit strategy. Is there an instance where things did not end well? And what could you have done differently in that instance?
So most of the insurance agencies that I have bought, small, medium size, every single one of those sellers continues to be a friend till today. We sat down, we battled it, and then both parties at the end of it were content. One more than the other, maybe in some instances, but we were able to be cordial, and we stayed friends. So that goes for the agencies. In terms of the real estate, there was one purchase that I got into, and after we opened escrow, the gentleman got flooded with several other offers, and he tried everything he possibly could to malign, is that how you say, the escrow, make the escrow go bad. And so that was one that we ended as enemies. Okay, so you're not able to all the time be able to, but for the most part I've been able to transact business, and I always have the idea that once this is over, we can be cordial with each other, and if we see each other on the streets, because I like purchasing things that are near me, as opposed to some of my colleagues. They criticize me a lot because I don't buy in other states or in other countries. I like things near me so that I can keep an eye on what I get, because maintenance is a big issue for me. I'm very hands-on in that respect. And even having things nearby, things go wrong.
Yeah.
Even when you're trying to be compliant, you've got all kinds of legislature that changes daily that potentially take you out of compliance, like the Americans Disability Act. You try to stay compliant, and here you go. But for the most part, I've been successful in that.
Yeah, you've been able to maintain these relationships. You transacted business with them. You to a certain extent played hardball. You're trying to buy for, whether it's a book of business of insurance or a property, for the best price, best terms, and the seller's trying to get the highest price, usually best terms. So it's that battle. But in the game of pool, they say that you're supposed to, you make a shot, but you have to set yourself up for the next shot, because if you make your ball in and the white ball falls into an area that you have no next shot, that was just one that you made. But you see some of these players that after the break, they have set up every single shot. They know that I'm going to hit it and the white ball will end up over here, perfectly in front of the other ball so I can make that one in too. And that's how it is in business, I feel. And we were just talking earlier about a friend that is in a situation that, because he wants things to end well with this person that they're doing business with, they're being taken advantage of now.
Absolutely.
And you and I have this conversation. We've had it a lot. Like, you don't want anybody to take advantage of you. And there has to be a certain point where you put your foot down. You go from being just nice to now you're being taken advantage of. And we see our friend being taken advantage of, and it's painful to watch. So we had a tough conversation the other day, kind of warning them, hey, there's something off here. You're being taken advantage of to a certain extent.
And it's a difficult conversation because we're stepping out of line.
Yeah.
Right? Don't you feel?
No, because we do care, but it could go wrong. They could take it bad.
We care for them.
Yeah.
But we're telling them something that potentially could be obvious to many people, right? It's obvious to you and me.
Yeah.
You're right. They could take it the wrong way. It just so happens that there was a reservation on behalf of the person that already existed. Right. And so the conversation went well because we're not trying to hurt anybody in any way or form, but you can't allow someone to take advantage of you. There's a point in time when you need to put your foot down.
And I think the reason that that's happening, that they're taking advantage of our friend, is because they want things to end well.
Correct.
With the other person, and so they're overlooking a lot of things, and that's a problem. Greene is giving examples of individuals.
Greene.
Robert Greene is giving examples of individuals that, like Napoleon Bonaparte was showed no mercy to the Prussians and to the Austrians, and treated them so badly that it created resentment against Napoleon. And even though that they were under his control, the moment that they had the opportunity to, they went and they took their vengeance on him. And Greene was stating that was part of why Napoleon's fall eventually came down, and Waterloo and all that. Greene was stating that it was because of the way that he treated the Prussians and the Austrians.
Right. So just to delve a little bit more into it,
Mm-hmm.
Napoleon was a tremendous general, and he was a strategist. And he had the battles figured out in his head from beginning to end. Okay? Now, what happened was when he defeated Austria, in Austerlitz, and when he defeated Prussia and I'm going to mess this up, but it's Jena Austerlitz, something like that. Those were his two biggest battles. He defeated them, right? What happened after the defeat is that the terms that he provided for them were excruciating. Not only did they take the defeat, but then now what came after the war, it was demeaning, excruciating, it was horrible. And so he just, was relentless even after the defeat. And so they held that inside like a vengeance that they wanted to come back out. And then secretly, both of them, Prussia and Austria, started building their army. And so when in 1812, Napoleon, retreated from Russia, which was a horrible thing that happened to him, they ended up attacking him and taking him down, and that led to Waterloo and all this stuff. And so that was the downfall of Napoleon. So what Robert Greene is saying, if you would have treated Austria and Prussia with a little more diplomacy, if you would have been a little bit more courteous, if the terms after the war would have been a little bit more livable, okay, he would have been fine, because Prussia looked at Napoleon as a liberator. And then he just squashed him. He could have used that feeling of being a liberator to his benefit, you know?
Yeah.
And it's brilliant, guys. You need to read the chapter. It's just absolutely brilliant the way Robert Greene portrays it.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why I say, you know, he's got a way of telling stories. And that's why these books are the best sellers in the world.
You say it often that when you have the opportunity, let's say, to squash somebody, you know, how you act in that situation. When you are in the power position, it shows how your character is.
Yeah.
You know, just because you can put, let's say, very difficult laws into place here, maybe you don't want to do that. And then Greene also stated the example of Muhammad.
Yeah.
And how he wanted to win a victory, I guess, taking over Mecca with his 10,000 soldiers without any bloodshed, and that he was able to do so with minimal bloodshed. That was very interesting. And then they looked at him as like a benevolent ruler. You know, he was still coming in and taking over, but he showed mercy.
Right.
And so...
And there's a thin line you have to walk, right? So you show mercy so that you're looked as benevolent ruler, like you just said, but you don't show mercy to a point where they'll think you're weak and come back after you. Because there was another strategy that we went over where in Afghanistan, it was the British coming in, remember?
Yeah.
And the guy that was being placed said, hey, I got to kill these people. They're my opponents. And the British said, no, you don't do that in a civilized country. You use diplomacy. But there, they took him down because they saw him not acting as culturally acceptable for that particular country. And they saw that as a weakness and they took him down. So, you know, it's a game, it's strategy, and you got to be very careful on your moves.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, and you know, in the business world, we try to be very tactful in negotiations in real estate, for example, because we know we're going to run into these other individuals again. It's just a matter of time. You know, the longer you're in the business, you run into these other individuals, other real estate agents and professionals or people you do business with. And your reputation, it does matter. And so we try to, even in recent, we've had some conflicts that have come up, errors that were made by the other party. And, right? And we try to handle it in a good way, in a firm way, but in a way where we're not belittling anybody or anything like that. So you have to, and the idea behind that is that we're going to run into this person again, potentially, you know, and how you did the last deal together matters.
It does. There's some people that I've mentioned we won't work with them again. That's relative, because if one of our clients likes a particular property that's being listed by somebody that I said, I'll never work with you again, then I'm, you know...
you have to forego your previous...
you have to forego and you have to work with them.
You have to work with them.
But now it's different.
You're aware.
Now we know that we have to do our job and theirs.
Yeah.
And because they're just so bent out of shit, they're doing so much that they don't do their job efficiently. You know, but you hit the... What is it? You hit the nail in the head with the comment that you made about pool. When you're playing pool, you shoot the ball and you set yourself up for the next one.
Yeah.
It is precisely what is said in the book. He says you need to be strategic and have what's called a third eye. And he says to keep your third eye focused on the future, even when you're fighting in the present. So you're fighting in the present. Let's say you're negotiating in the present. But your third eye, your eye of wisdom, right? If we go into the mythical and we go into a little bit of history from India, they have a third eye, which is a mystical eye, which is supposed to be the pineal gland, which is supposed to be the eye of wisdom. You keep that eye versed in the future so that you won't diminish, belittle, just like you said, your enemy to a point that there's no return and there'll be a fire for vengeance. Like Lyndon Johnson, when he won and he defeated all those people, he went and wine and dined them and brought them onto him because they would have voted against him in the following elections. He would have been short-lived. That's a brilliant man. So it's really cool. I mean, this chapter was fantastic.
Yes. Yeah, you're turning your enemies at one they were your enemies at one time, and now you're turning them into allies by the way that you treat them.
Yeah.
It's very interesting.
For sure. Even there's a couple books out there, and I know that Greene has talked about it in a couple of interviews where he says, be careful who you turn into an enemy. And then he gives those, what is it, the way people act, or, he identifies them. This guy is this guy is that.
Oh, yeah.
So if you happen to step on this guy's toes.
That was, I believe, the laws of human nature.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He says, you step on this guy's toe, he's going to make it his life mission to destroy you.
Mm-hmm.
You just made an enemy for a lifetime.
With the wrong person.
Yeah. So he identifies these characteristics in people,
Mm-hmm.
and you have to be, you have to be careful not to cross one of these guys or ladies, right?
They'll make it their life mission to get you back.
To take you out, and they will, because when you have when a lifetime is the range, somewhere along the line you're gonna mess up and you're not gonna see the angles. It's really interesting. So negotiation is an art, just like communication. The better you are at communicating, the better you will be at negotiating. And I think
And listening. The better you are at listening, you really can figure out what makes the other person tick. And listening doesn't only mean, let's say, what they're saying, but also how they're acting or what they're doing. If you have an appointment, do they show up late to the appointment, the other person? They don't value your time.
Or they're not all that interested in that business. They show up late. That's a sign right there. You said it too. What was it that you said the other day? It escapes me, but yeah, it will come back to me. But you were talking about, the signs that people give off. You have to read them.
Yep. Yeah, body language is a big one. We get so caught up in the point we're trying to make or get across, that we may not be listening or fully observing. That's why I like the laws of human nature a lot, because he's talking about actually looking at the other person, and even some of the small micro aggressions or micro gestures. I don't know, microaggression, but like these little gestures, like a smirk or a twitch, a smile at the wrong time. All those things matter. But yeah, we in negotiation, especially when you're dealing with money and people's money in the business that we're in, things get hot. They get heated. Things get heated, and we've been in some situations not that long ago we were dealing directly with the sellers of a building, and they were like old school and tough, and things got heated for a little bit, right? Because
Sure.
you were asking for one thing, they wanted another, and but at the end of the day, you're still able to keep it together. And at the end of the transaction, things are okay, you know? There are some people that you're never going to be friends with, but maybe you can still be acquaintances with.
Right. Well, it's interesting because this real estate deal that you're referring to, I wasn't at my best. That wasn't an example of a good negotiating ability on my part. And I learned a lot in that deal. And the fact that we finished cordially with the sellers, and we met with one of them after the fact and had coffee together. That particular meeting was super interesting to me, and I learned a ton there.
After the fact.
After the closing. Because we genuinely put our cards on the table, and he said, well, I said, would you have done this? And he goes, I would have given you this. I would have done that. If you had done this, I would have given you this. And very interesting. You know, after the fact, you were there. We were analyzing
the deal, the
deal.
Negotiation. Yeah.
And even one time we had a meeting and you turned to me and you go, what was the purpose of this meeting? You know?
Well, you know.
So it wasn't my best negotiating.
You were negotiating on behalf of yourself, us, and you were negotiating on behalf of a client. So it was a little different. You were more vested in this. You were more emotional about it. And I think that's what, from my perspective, you got a little caught up in that.
I did.
But it still ended up being a good thing.
We got the building.
You learned from it.
I learned from it. We got the building. I love the place. I wouldn't have it any other way. And I have no regrets, really.
Yeah.
I mean, well, we're talking about, okay, he would have given me this if I would have asked this way or whatever. And yes, you want to improve always. But I wanted that place. And you came up with it. Remember you said the other day, you have to be very careful that the other side doesn't see that you really want this at all costs. Because then they're going to say, hey, this guy doesn't want to walk away no matter. So it's an issue.
You lose negotiate power.
Yeah.
End on a high note. I would say that's something Greene talks about, ending on a high note. Ending in a positive light is the way that I interpret that. And we always try to do that with people. Even when it's a difficult situation, we try to always keep things positive.
Yeah.
We're moving forward, you know? And he says, look, Greene talks about how you handle defeat. And he says, look, even if defeat is inevitable, go down swinging. What are your thoughts on that?
And that's what I tell my grandkids. So I believe in that. You know. So you're because he's comparing wars that were fought many moons ago, right? You gotta go down swinging. There comes a point in time where the negotiating is done, where you can only push a person so far. So you keep swinging at that person, I don't know how much good it'll come. You know what I mean?
Like, don't beat a dead horse kind of thing.
Yeah. So the chapter says, look, you need to know when to pull out, right? Because if you go too far, that's bad. Mm-hmm. But if you fall short, that's bad too. And the chapter gives a lot of stuff. Like, for example, the Gulf War of 1991. They said the Americans quit too soon. And then it gave Saddam Hussein the power to regroup. And there was a lot of massacre of the insurrections that were rising from these two other factions. I forget they are, Shiites and somebody else. So he destroyed a lot of those people. So by the Americans not going far enough, the death and devastation was tremendous. Tremendous.
But you also don't want to go too far.
Right.
Like Napoleon did.
Like Napoleon did. So You know,
You have to figure out where is that spot.
yeah, what did he call it? The optimum point.
Yeah, hitting the mark.
Yeah, he said you need to realize where is the optimum point in the war, the optimum moment. What is the where or what is the optimum moment to end the war? You need to know when to stop.
Yeah, when to get out.
Yeah.
When to exit even a conversation.
Exactly.
When to exit a business deal. You want, Green talked about you want to leave the other people in that you're talking to, let's say in a conversation, with the idea of they left just a little bit too soon, right? A little bit before I got tired of talking to them. So you want to leave them with like, oh, I want to talk to them again.
Right.
But if you leave way too early, then it's rude. If you leave too late, they're done talking to you. They're no longer interested in the conversation. They're bored. That's something that I find very interesting because I've been in conversations where I feel where they're a little too long.
Okay. Yeah, I'm probably guilty of that.
Me too. When it comes, but you can read the other person. It's a little easier. Let's say you're doing the talking. We're talking to somebody else. I'm the one who's not talking. It's a little easier because I'm able to see the other person and be like, oh, I think he's done with the conversation.
And I keep going.
You might go one or two sentences over. But what Green is saying, no.
Not good. Boo-how.
No.
Boo-how.
Oh, wait, I do it too, I'm sure. But Green is saying, notice and pull out of the conversation just before you hit that point.
Yeah. And I wrote the word down. I can't read the word. It bugs me. It was the identification by Karl Franz Lustig, and it's referring to the optimum moment, and it's illuminating point of victory, but it's not illuminating. Augmenting point, and that bothers me. I wrote it so fast I can't make it out.
It's the mark.
The mark.
It's
okay.
that point. Not going too far and not cutting it too early. It's difficult, though, to know where the mark is.
Oh, I think it's culminating.
Oh, the culminating point of victory?
Yeah. Got it. Good. That makes me feel better. The culminating point of victory, which is the optimum point. When do you pull out? The same thing in a negotiation. I'll share this real quick. I was buying an agency, and the seller was really cool. And I made him a very fair offer. And he said, hey, I like your offer, Pablo, but I'm still going to put it out on the market. And I'll never forget, I told him right there and then, I said, look, if you put it on the market, my offer is null and void immediately. Okay? I'm not going to compete with 10 other people's for price, so I'm willing to let it go. And that was a big bluff. I really wanted that book. But if he would have put it out on the market, I was not able to compete with all these big shots because I was a little guy. I'm a little guy, right? And I wanted that agency. It was strategic. But I knew that there were bigger I would never be able to compete with them with money. They had money to throw at, and they would make it work, right? And he said, I'll never forget it. He said, oh, wow. No, it's okay. It's a fair price. I'll sell you the book of business.
Wow.
I'll never forget it. And I've done a couple of those things where I put everything on the line and I was bluffing. I remember one time selling my largest life insurance policy. I don't remember how much. It was like $8,000 a month or $9,000 a month. And the guy said, I like it. Let me think about it. But there was a window period for that product. And that product, the following week, was going to be gone. And I threw it at him and I said, if I walk out of here today, you and I know you're never going to get this policy. It's a waste of time. You wasted your time. I didn't say you've wasted my time. I said you've wasted your time. And this product is going to be gone. This product is so good that the company's taking this product away. This is a window period, an opportunity that you have. If you don't sign this right now and give me a check, you'll never have the ability to get this product. And he was taken aback. And he said, wow. All right. And he called his accountant and said, cut me a check for whatever. It was $8,000 or something like that a month.
Wow.
Yeah, it was one of the largest policies I ever sold. And so sometimes you got to be willing to walk away.
Yeah.
But I
It's
remember
difficult.
I was sweating bullets. If he would have taken a closer look at me, he would have realized I was sweating bullets because I was perspiring. It was hot in there.
Or maybe sometimes people need that little push to get things done, because if not, they'll just think about it forever. And he probably agreed with you. He's like, he's right. If I don't do it now, I won't get it done.
And after that, we became closer. You know, he was the owner of a shrimp empire his father had created. And, you know, they needed it. There was a need. That's the other thing. You need to
Right.
supply something that resolves an issue that your client has. The need was there.
Right.
I wasn't selling it because I wanted to make the money. I identified a problem and a need, and that goes for everything. Everything. But, I remember. I'm glad I remember. You said the other day, the most important thing in a salesman is to listen and keep quiet. You said that the other day, you know? And when people think of salesmen, you know, everybody's talking, they're trying to sell your brains off, right? But you said the other day, no. I think that the most important trait of a salesman is his or her ability to listen. And I think that's brilliant. You picked it up somewhere here because I don't think you made that up on your own.
I'm sure I did it. But where it really kicked in for me was when I was selling life insurance and I would go on appointments, and initially I would just talk, and we'd be there for 2 hours.
Oof.
And then I realized it was the wrong approach. I changed it, and when I would sit down with this person that I didn't know, I would just say, what do you guys have in mind? How can I help? And then it was very different, because then they started sharing, well, here's kind of where their concerns, and then, okay, well, we can figure that out together. Instead of just throwing everything out and talking, it was the wrong approach. So I learned that, let's say, the hard way, that I have to listen first. And it depends what you're doing. Sometimes you do have to speak up. It can't be too quiet, but for the most part, yeah, listening to people and their body language. I remember being in some appointments where, let's say, the wife was arms crossed, sitting back, didn't want to be there. It was, let's say, the husband was interested in the information, and so I had to address the wife, because nothing was going to get done in that situation if I didn't, what is it, is everything okay, do you have questions? I had to address her. So I don't know, and then she opened up a little bit. I had said something earlier in the appointment where I was talking bad about the competitor, and I learned I should never do that anymore, because that competitor that wrote that other life insurance policy was a family member of hers. That's it. Anyway, it's listening and learning, and then you learn as you go, and you put all that in your belt, and then you try to bring the best to the table, which is what we're trying to do. That's why we study these books, we bounce ideas back and forth, and we actually implement them every single day.
Yeah. I think that solving a problem for the client is key. You sell a product that it's beneficial and it's going to solve a problem, then that product stays in place for many, many years. But,
right.
Car salesmen and life insurance salesmen and ladies, salespeople, okay? I think they're the wisest, or it's a tough sale, And I think the public has been beat up a little bit because, in every field you got people that
Take advantage.
unscrupulous,
Sure.
unscrupulous. But
Every field.
but I remember the guy that taught me how to sell life insurance. One of the things that he told me is the minute that they agree with you, you stop talking
Yeah.
and you pull the application, because back then we had papers, folks, applications. I mean, I started in the 1986, so we didn't have computers, we didn't have fax machines, we didn't have. So I remember him telling me, the minute when the client said, "Hey, that sounds good, great," he pulled the application from his briefcase and said, "What's your first and last name again?
Mm-hmm.
I need it like it is in your driver's license, please." And then that's it. You start writing the application, you get signatures, you get the check, and get out. A lot of psychology into it.
A lot. But this is a great chapter because it's not just about winning the battle, it's about long-term strategy. And I really liked that third eye idea. You're in the battle, but you're also thinking about the future.
Right.
And that's really how we try to approach everything in business.
We closed a deal a few years back, and now we're about to close another one from the guy that we closed with has brought another deal back up.
Yeah.
And you just treat people with respect and courtesy, and it goes a long way.
Yeah.
A long way. You set yourself apart by doing that. I've had people that I've called and they say, "This is Ron, how may I help you?" or whatever. "This is this, how may I help you?" whatever the name is. They go straight, and
Yeah, what can I do for you?
what can I do for you? And I say, "Hi, my name is Pablo Pomes, and I'm here to ask you about this." And, "Yeah, how can I help you?" "Yeah, what is it that you need?" And God bless him, but it's not my approach.
Right. You have a different approach.
A little bit. Maybe some people don't like it.
Right.
My approach.
Some people might want
I'm
just.
not saying this. Yeah.
Straight to the point.
Get to the point. What do you want?
Yeah. Anything else you want to throw in?
I'm good.
Okay. Thank you everybody for listening. We've been getting some comments that are asking questions about certain instances that they're encountering, and they're asking how we should approach it. So we have to reply to some of these comments. But thank you for everybody listening and following.
Yeah, we're almost at 2,000 subscribers, so thank you very much. That's a big deal for us.
Yeah.
All right.
Thank you.